Ever wondered about a land where you can legally marry 4 wives at once? Welcome to Saudi Arabia, Asia's richest country. Please watch to the end, the last part will shock you. In the heart of the Middle East, this nation is not only known for its expansive deserts, towering skyscrapers and vast oil reserves, it's also recognized for its unique cultural practices, some of which might be quite surprising to the uninitiated. One such practice that stands out is polygamy. Yes, you heard it right. In Saudi Arabia, a man is allowed to have up to 4 wives at the same time. This practice, deeply rooted in the country's traditions and religious beliefs, continues to be a part of the Saudi Arabian way of life. But like any culture, there's so much more than meets the eye. As we delve deeper, brace yourself to unravel the complexities of this fascinating aspect of Saudi Arabian culture. But wait, before we begin, please subscribe to ensure that you never miss out on any of my crucial stuff. Comment "I subscribe" below and I will personally welcome you to our community. Let's get started. Polygamy, a practice that allows a man to have multiple wives simultaneously, is deeply embedded in Saudi Arabia's cultural fabric. This concept, while foreign to many, is a time-honored tradition here that can be traced back to the roots of Islamic law. So, what exactly is polygamy? At its core, polygamy is a marital practice where a person has more than one spouse. In Saudi Arabia and many other Islamic societies, a specific form of polygamy known as polygyny is practiced, where a man can have up to 4 wives. This practice is not simply a societal construct, but it is also enshrined in religious law. In the Quran, the holy book of Islam, it is written that a man may marry 2, 3, or 4 women, but only if he can treat them justly. If he cannot, then he is commanded to marry only 1. This provision was made in a time when wars often left many women as widows, and polygamy was a way to ensure their protection and provision. However, it's important to note that the practice of polygamy in Saudi Arabia today is not widespread as one might think. It's estimated that only about 10% of Saudi men are in polygamous marriages. Some attribute this to the economic burden of maintaining multiple households, while others point to changing societal norms and the influence of the Western world. But why does it continue to exist? Well, several reasons. Firstly, it's a deeply rooted cultural practice, and cultural change is often slow. Secondly, it's legally sanctioned, making it a right that men can choose to exercise. Lastly, some argue that it offers a solution to societal issues like the high number of unmarried women. However, it's also a subject of ongoing debate and controversy, with critics arguing against the practice, citing issues of gender equality and women's rights. Understanding polygamy in Saudi Arabia requires us to delve into the realm of religion, law, and societal norms. It's a complex issue, woven into the tapestry of Saudi society, and understanding it is key to understanding the country itself. The practice of polygamy in Saudi Arabia is not merely a relic of the past, but a present-day reality. At first glance, one might wonder why this practice is still prevalent in such a modern, economically advanced country. However, there are several factors that contribute to the practicality of polygamy in this context. For one, wealth distribution plays a significant role. Saudi Arabia, being the richest country in Asia, has a considerable wealth gap. Polygamy serves as a mechanism for wealth distribution, allowing affluent men to provide for multiple families. This not only raises the standard of living for these families, but also helps in reducing societal inequality. Another factor is social status. In Saudi society, having multiple wives is often seen as a symbol of prestige and power. This perception is rooted in tradition and is reinforced by the societal structure. Thus, for some Saudi men, marrying multiple women is a way to elevate their social standing. Moreover, polygamy can also be a practical choice due to the demographic imbalance. The gender ratio in Saudi Arabia is skewed towards women, making polygamy a viable solution to this imbalance. By marrying multiple women, men can ensure that all women have the opportunity to marry, which is considered a fundamental right in Saudi culture. Finally, religion plays a critical role. Islam, the dominant religion in Saudi Arabia, permits polygamy under certain conditions. This religious endorsement provides a moral and ethical framework that justifies the practice for many Saudis. However, it's important to note that while polygamy is legal and socially accepted in Saudi Arabia, it's not universally practiced. The decision to enter a polygamous marriage is a personal one and is subject to individual beliefs and circumstances. Polygamy in the Saudi context is more than just a religious allowance. It's a social construct with deep roots and wide acceptance. Before we continue, can I beg a little favor? If you're liking what you're hearing, show us some love by pressing that like button. And hey, if you want to be in the loop for our fantastic upcoming videos, make sure to press subscribe and ring that bell so you're always in the know. Oh, and one more thing. Drop a quick "I subscribe" down in the comments and I'll make sure to offer you a warm welcome to our amazing family. All right, enough of that. Let's keep the conversation flowing. Now let's discuss an even more sensitive topic: child marriage in Saudi Arabia. Child marriage, a practice deeply rooted in some societies, is a matter of significant concern in Saudi Arabia. It is a topic that invites a multitude of perspectives, driven by cultural norms, religious beliefs, and ongoing debates around the world. In the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, child marriages have been part of the cultural fabric for centuries. The practice is often tied to tribal customs, economic factors, and, in some instances, religious interpretations. These marriages are usually arranged by families with little to no input from the child involved. To understand the prevalence of child marriages, it's essential to delve into the cultural and religious underpinnings that support the practice. Saudi society is deeply rooted in traditions and religious customs that date back hundreds of years. Some argue that these customs, including child marriage, are part of the cultural identity that should be respected and preserved. However, there's an ongoing debate within Saudi Arabia and globally about the ethical implications of child marriage. Critics argue that it infringes on the rights of children, particularly girls who are often married off to much older men. They point out the potential for exploitation, the denial of education and personal development, and the health risks associated with early childbirth. On the other hand, proponents of child marriage often cite religious texts or cultural norms as justification for the practice. They argue that such marriages provide financial stability and protection for girls in a society where opportunities might otherwise be limited. At the heart of this debate is the question of children's rights and welfare. The international community continues to put pressure on nations like Saudi Arabia to enact reforms and protect the rights of children. In recent years, Saudi Arabia has made strides towards reform, introducing new laws that set a minimum age for marriage. However, exceptions can still be made and the issue remains a contentious one. Child marriage, a contentious issue, continues to be a part of Saudi society despite international criticism and calls for reform. Saudi Arabia is not immune to change. The winds of reform are blowing, even if slowly. A nation steeped in tradition, Saudi Arabia has been slow to adapt to the changing tides of societal norms and values. However, even within its borders, the winds of change are starting to rustle. The country is beginning to reckon with its own practices, particularly those that have drawn international criticism, such as polygamy and child marriage. In recent years, Saudi Arabia has embarked on a path of reform, introducing legal changes and societal shifts that challenge the long-standing customs of polygamy and child marriage. The government has started to implement laws that protect the rights of women and children and promote a more equal society. One such reform is the increase in the legal age of marriage to 18, a significant step towards eradicating child marriage. This law, while not perfect, is a clear testament to the country's commitment to protecting the rights of its younger citizens. In terms of polygamy, the country is seeing a gradual decline in the practice. This is largely due to changing societal attitudes and increased awareness about women's rights. More and more people, especially the younger generation, are challenging the traditional norms and advocating for monogamy. Moreover, the government's Vision 2030 plan, an ambitious blueprint for the country's future, includes a strong emphasis on social reform. This includes the promotion of women's rights, with a particular focus on increasing women's participation in the workforce and ensuring their economic independence. But let's not sugarcoat it, the road to reform is not a smooth one. It's riddled with bumps and bends, and resistance from conservative factions is a constant challenge. However, the momentum for change is undeniable and the country is making strides in the right direction. The journey for Saudi Arabia is long and fraught with obstacles, but the seeds of change have been sown. And with continued commitment and perseverance, these seeds will grow into a garden of progress, transforming the landscape of the nation. While the journey is long and fraught with obstacles, the seeds of change have been sown.